Do you know that Tanki Classic is expected to have way more active players than Tanki Online currently has? Or the fact that Tanki Classic is gonna bring back certain YouTubers that left Tanki Online? And do you wanna know about how Tanki Classic's gameplay is gonna be one of the biggest reasons why this game is a huge success? This video covers all of these things, so let's get straight into it. Welcome back to SHK 17's Month of Gaming, a series where I upload a new video every other day for the entire month. So subscribe now so you don't miss out on a single one of these. And with that, let's get straight into it. First, let's talk about the number of players. Now, fact is that Tanki Classic is going to have way more people than Tanki Online, and that is not just something that I'm saying out of the blue for the most part. It's something that comes with evidence, which we'll get into in just a bit. The thing is, this classic version or an old school version of Tanki is something that the people have been wanting since a really long time. And all those pirated games, the ones that take Tanki Online resources and turn them into a different game, which is kind of like old Tanki Online. So they were also primarily created because of this idea. So what happened was over time a lot of these different games came and players left Tanki Online to play them, and in this way the player base of Tanki Online declined, but these games, each and every single one of them, grew a small individual player base. There's a few examples I can give you from the top of my head. There's G Tanks, which is like the old Tanky. Then there's Pro Tanky, which has been really popular in the recent years. There's Prime Tanky, which was released by Claudio. And the commonality here is that all of these consist of just people that want a taste of old Tanky Online. Their nostalgia or the experience or whatever, they just like, it's just people that wanted the game back, not like new people. But now all of the players from all of those different games just got an official version from Alternativa Games or the Tanky Online developers that look, this is an official version of World Tanky Online. If you want that, just log into that, play that. That's just literally it. So why would anyone not want that? Like, why would you prefer a pirated unofficial game over an official and what I would call a more stable game? By the way, I was like, this was like 2 months ago. I wanted to make a video on why Pro Tanky or like any other pirated game is not reliable. You know what? If you guys want that video, tell me in the comments. I'll make that as well. But generally speaking, I personally don't feel like those games are reliable to like actually grind on or like play for like a long time and build up an account. And there are reasons for that, but let's leave that for another day. Right now, the fact is that everyone would prefer an official classic version of Tanky Online. Now, I'm not saying that, let's say there's 30,000 players in Pro Tanky and 10,000 in Prime Tanky, and all of those people are just gonna come over and play classic Tanky. No, I'm not saying that every single individual is gonna do that, but a majority of people, or let's say not even a majority, like half of the people at least, from what I anticipate, are gonna try out Tanky Classic and they're gonna like play the official version. So overall, point being that it's not like Classic Tanky is only gonna have like people from Tanky Online that want to play old Tanky. It's gonna have people from the other pirated games like Pro Tanky and Prime Tanky and so on and so forth. And there's a vast majority of people that neither play Tanky Online nor do they play those pirated games. They're just like, they're done with Tanky Online and they don't want any pirated games. So all of those people, and I know a lot of people that are like that. You guys just tell me in the comments if you're one of them. You're just not like playing any Tanky Online right now. You're just waiting for Tanky Online Classic. So there's a lot of people like that, and they are gonna play Tanky Online Classic as well. So it's only fair to assume that there's gonna be a lot of people, which to me is one of the reasons why Tanky Classic is gonna be a big success. Another big reason I feel is that this game has the assurity that it's not gonna get contaminated in the future. What I mean by that is that when you look at the actual Tanky Online and its decline, then you'll see that 2017 and onwards, there were a lot of updates that were never required or like no one asked for them. Maybe they were like required in terms of experimentation, because obviously the reason that we have officially for all of these new updates and overdrives and drones and augments is that they don't want the game to be stale. They don't want it to be boring, because 2009 and then 2025, the exact same game, it was obviously gonna get boring. So yeah, that makes sense. But anyways, problem is that there's always a risk that the developers are gonna like bring in a new update, and that update is something that you're not gonna like. And this is like a very big problem in any game, not just like Tanky Online or like Tanky Online pirated games. I mean, I could give you the example of PUBG. A lot of people play PUBG. I was one of those people. But I personally feel that they brought in a lot of unnecessary updates into that game. One of them being that, there are a lot of like, I mean, I don't even understand those guys either, because they just brought in a lot of cosmetics and stuff in the game that was not really necessary. I mean, I don't know like why people would want all of that in the game, but why are we even talking about PUBG right now? My point just being that there's always a risk that the developers might do something that you don't really like, and that way you're just like in a position where you like grinded a lot in the game, you've given a lot of effort into making up your account and all of those things, and then it kind of feels like frustrating and disappointing that, man, what did you do to the game that I worked so hard in, you know so there's always that risk. It's still in Tanky Online, it could get worse, it could get better, and it's in Pro Tanky and it's in the other games as well. And I played Pro Tanky like a long time ago, like back when it was first getting popular, and I saw that there were a lot of new maps. And of course, innovation in its own regard, it's a good thing. I'm not saying new maps are a bad thing or something that make the game worse. Obviously, makes it more diverse, makes it more fun. But generally speaking, I have no assurity from the Pro Tanky team that they're not gonna like change the game in the future. Like maybe they're gonna include overdrives and maybe they're gonna do something else. You cannot give me an official statement from their side, because first of all, they are not official to begin with. It's like a pirated game. Why would I trust someone that created a game that's a copy of another game, even though if it was for the right cause? So I have no reason to trust them, right? I am kind of going into the contents of the why you can't trust Pro Tanky video, but whatever. But right now, what happened was that Hazel, or the whole development team of Tanky Online, they've given us a complete assurity that you are not going to get any unnecessary updates in Tanky Classic unless you yourself vote for them. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about how the vote could kind of mess up things because people have different ways of perceiving the game. Everyone has their own opinion in everything. But point being that the developers themselves are not going to experiment. So that is something that a lot of people will be happy to know, that we can just play, we can just chill, we can, maybe call our friends, do those rank up parties, and so on and so forth. So you have that assurity at the back of your mind. Now, another reason why I feel like Tanky Classic is gonna be a huge success is basically the gameplay, the game in itself. Now, we talked about how people are just gonna have that assurity that there's gonna be no changes, but no changes to what? The actual gameplay. And that is what a lot of people love. Just simple gameplay. Tank, enemy tank, shoot enemy tank because enemy tank bad, kaboom, you win, that's all. So that's something that a lot of people find easy to understand, and this kind of adds on to the point about the people, because a game with such simple gameplay, a game that already prospered like 5 to 10 years ago because of how simple it was and how fun it was to like just get on and log in and start shooting enemy tanks. The reason why Tanky Online got so popular to begin with was because it was so simple. And maybe this is gonna bring in new players, you never know. Because it is just that kind of attractive gameplay. Especially to like, I wouldn't say kids, but like people that are typically younger audiences. So yeah, it's definitely like a plus point. But now coming back to the gameplay in itself, the thing is that it's way less annoying and way less frustrating, and it's just way more balanced than what you see in Tanking Online today. First of all, it's a game of tanks. You're not gonna die every 5 seconds, which is pretty realistic if you ask me. Second of all, there are no flying tanks, also pretty realistic if you ask me. Third of all, you won't see any tanks with grenades because that's what soldiers use, not something that armored vehicles use. Sounds pretty realistic to me. So, all of these things combined, it's realistic and it's simple. At the same time, it may get slightly complicated at times, but not to the extent where you don't know what's happening. There's no status effects, there's no drones, there's no like overcomplicated augments with status effects. There's gonna be alterations as far as I know, but they're just gonna be there to slightly alter the gameplay to make it more interesting, and that's how I like to think of it. Not that it's gonna ruin the game or anything. So maybe there's gonna be overdrives, but I'd only want that if it's like the simple overdrive. Just activate the supplies and just get it over with. So it's like slightly complicated, just enough to make it fun, not too over the top, not just too bland. And I think that's just a perfect blend of things. And it's just something that keeps the people or the players coming back to the game. Like they won't get enough of it. And obviously, maybe this is also gonna bring back a lot of YouTubers that left the game because of the whole idea that maybe the game is no longer worth it because they're just sending in random updates and like they don't listen to the community, right? That was the general perception of Tanky Online about 2 to 3 years ago. Or well, it's been like honestly 10 years since that has happened, 2015 to 2025. But like even in the near past there were a lot of YouTubers that just left, like I wouldn't say in a row, but like they just, it was like a period where people were rapidly leaving Tankion on YouTube. The whole decline from average 15 to 20k views per video to like 5k max per video that you're gonna see either in a Taspin's video or Jumper video. But there were a lot of YouTubers that just left Tanky Online. People like Mr. Thunder, there was Shibe123, and Ghost Animator. He hasn't really left, but like he uploads really less now compared to like his consistency level back then. So yeah, all of these guys can become more consistent or like basically come back to Tanky Online or Tanky Classic or whatever. And not only is this gonna be good for the YouTube community, but it's gonna be good for the general Tanky Classic community or the Tanky Online community. Because the thing is that people always seem to be influenced by their favorite YouTubers or like people they watch, people they hang out with. It's a very natural thing that happens. So let's suppose that there's a person A, let's call him A, and he really likes to watch my videos. So he likes, let's say the content I make on Tanky Classic. I've talked about the features it has, I've talked about the things you should know about it, the things that may possibly mess it up. So there's a lot of videos I've made about Tanky Classic, and let's say the person A really likes them because I talk about Tanky Classic and he's waiting for Tanky Classic. Now what happens is all of a sudden I upload a video titled Tanky Classic is terrible, and in that video I yap for like 10 minutes and I talk about all of the bad things that this game is gonna bring and how bad it is and how bad of an initiative it is. Even though nothing in that video is gonna make sense, it is inevitable that at the back of the mind of person A, when he watches that video, he will start to have doubts. He's gonna be like, oh no, maybe this guy is right, because I like his videos and he's like, one of the like Tanky creators that I watch frequently. So maybe he's saying stuff that's technically not something that I understand or agree with, but maybe he's right. And because of that subconscious thought, he is gonna be influenced by me in some way, and sooner or later he is not gonna be as excited about Tanky Classic because he will have that thought at the back of the mind that people are starting to hate this game a bit, and why are they hating it? So he's gonna look at potential flaws. So this is like a psychology lesson that I'm giving you guys right now. But point being that when a person that is like of significance to another person, whenever they do something, the other person is influenced by them, which is why you should typically not do like stuff that involves negativity of sorts. And now we've moved on to spiritual stuff. Great. We were talking about tanks. I'm sorry for this whole lecture. Let's get back to the point. Point is that similarly, this whole person A and SHK17 relationship exists with YouTubers and their audiences. So let's say if Mr. Thunder left, then a lot of people were like, oh no, Mr. Thunder left. Tanky Online is so bad at this point that Mr. Thunder left. So all of those people left as well. Ghost Animator, if he's like uploading less, then people are gonna be like, yeah, Ghost Animator lost interest in the game. So maybe it's that bad. Let's also stop playing. So this really does have an effect. And right now, it could be the literal opposite of that, because if the YouTubers start coming back, then the players that left because of being influenced by those YouTubers are also gonna come back. And by the way, once again, just putting it out there that I'm taking names of different YouTubers and I'm saying and putting them in different scenarios that this guy is inconsistent or this guy left, or but this is like not criticism in any way, and I'm not saying that oh this guy is bad because he's like this, just putting it out there that these are just examples. I love all of these YouTubers and I've been watching them since, I don't know, like 7 8 years maybe. So yeah, just all of these different things I talked about, I feel like these all add up to the point that Tanky Classic is gonna be a huge success. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, just like you'll have to wait for the next episode of the SHK 17's month of gaming. So if you like this video, subscribe, like, and comment your thoughts, what you think about all of this. That is all. I'll see you in the next one.